Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mayor Billy Knight. It's time for our River City chat. I want to talk about our meeting that we had last night, which was Thursday, the 14th of May. I'm proud to say we had a good meeting last night. We had a good turnout. We had probably 60 or more people here, which is much more than our normal turnout for a public hearing. And I'm glad that the people are engaged and came out. And of course, now I know they came out because of the topic that we were discussing. Everybody's excited about what we are calling our family sports complex. Remember, I said family sports complex. We're talking about a recreation center that we're now calling a family sports complex because it's going to be a building that's going to accommodate from early childhood education to senior citizen program. It's going to cover the gamut of all of our people. Everybody in our city would be able to benefit from this recreation building. And it's a building that's going to have a lot of things. And so we had a lot of discussion last night about that. And I just want to make sure I come to you to tell you how that discussion went. It went well. I enjoyed it. It's always good to have different opinions. And you had opinions from the standpoint that we're talking about 4 basketball courts because we want our Moss Point Recreation Center, and we want to consider Moss Point to be the kind of the niche or the hub for basketball. Because of our basketball history, we're choosing basketball to be our selling point or our niche for the Gulf Coast. Every city or most cities have some type of niche. Gulfport, they're big in Little League Baseball. Biloxi is big in Little League Baseball. But Biloxi also have a pickleball court. They've got a big warehouse over there that they was able to renovate for pickleball. So they must have 20 or 30 pickleball courts inside this building that they have pickleball tournaments. Well, when we talked to the Tourism Commission, they said, why don't Moss Point be the basketball hub where we focus on travel basketball? And if you do that, you need at least 4 gymnasiums in one location for promoters to even be attracted to the area. So that's what this is about now. That's going to be kind of the focus. We got 4 basketball courts that we're talking about putting a part of this gym. But now don't forget, everything else is going to be a part of this as well, not just basketball. But we also talk about a shelter, because for the hurricane and tornado season, we need a shelter somewhere for people to go. But not only that, flooding. We have so much flooding, and in so many areas since I've been in office that we've had to get people out of low-lying areas that were flooded that they couldn't get out in their cars. So where do you take those people? You take them to a shelter. So the government, FEMA, has told us if you put a shelter in this building, if you put child care, because this is called what they call unmet needs. We went back to the government after the tornado and say, look, you all supported us. We were grateful for what you did, but there are some needs that was not met. And could you give us more funding for that? And they said, yes, we could do that, but it's got to be a multi-purpose kind of building. You can't build just a shelter by itself to be only used for a shelter. You got to have that shelter where it could be multi-purpose. And you got to have a daycare because you lost Mary Little Lamb daycare that served a lot of kids. Now you lost that service. So now we don't have that need. We don't have that opportunity to have daycare for our people. So that's an unmet need. The shelter was an unmet need. And if you put it inside of this recreation center, then we can help fund it because of those 2 things. And so that's how we came up with that concept, okay? And so there was some pros and cons about whether we should do it, whether we should have it where it's located. Well, we want to put it behind the fire and park because of safety, but also because that property belonged to the city. And it was mentioned that the area is low, you got to build it up, you got some drainage problem. And our engineer just mentioned that it would probably be about $2 million to really build this thing up. And then people just got all concerned about, you're going to put $2 million worth of dirt? Well, that's not just dirt. There's a lot of things goes into that feeling, preparing that property for a building to sit on it. But let me just mention this to you, ladies and gentlemen. Even if we had $2 million today for that building behind fire and police department, we could not use it for Sue Ellen because that's what they say. Why don't you use that money for Sue Ellen? That money is for a specific project. And you can't get money from the government and telling them you're going to do one thing with it. Then you decide on your own to use it for something else. You're just not going to be able to do that. So there are some people out there saying, well, we ought to use this money that we're getting for Sue Ellen. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand. When you get money from the government, you tell them up front what you're going to do with the money. And we're telling the government right now, because this is what qualifies for this additional funding that we got. It qualifies for the area that was in the tornado zone to meet the unmet needs that was in that area. The problem we got at Sue Ellen, it just came up 2 or 3 months ago. We just found out that we needed to tear it down. Having to tear Sue Ellen down has nothing to do with the tornado. It has nothing to do with the tornado. So I want you to understand that, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that we got to tear Sue Ellen down has to do with the structure of the building that is corroded. It has nothing to do with the tornado. What we're doing with this new family sports complex is related to unmet needs that came out of the tornado. And that's why we're trying to get money from the government. And if we get money from the government for that, we cannot use it for anything else. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we can do more than one thing at a time. I'm working on funding for Sue Ellen, and I'm also working on funding for the family sports complex. I know how to do more than one thing at a time. Some of our people can't do that, but fortunately, I can. So that's what I'm doing. So don't you ever think that we're putting one project aside for another project. We're working on all of these projects at the same time. So look, ladies and gentlemen, I'll keep you informed about what's going on from time to time. I want to let you know we had a great meeting about this family sports complex. We had a lot of feedback from it. But the clear thing that I want you to understand is that we're working on both of these projects, Sue Ellen and the sports complex, because both of them are needed. And what I want you also to know is that I want you to feel confident that we can get these things done. And help me explain to people that may not see this video so that they will understand that we're working on these things. And let's try to get all the negativity out of the city of Moss Point. We just got too much negativity about everything we try to do. You get so much negative feedback. From not all, but from some. It's just a very few. Very few people that you think ought to know is just so negative about what we're doing. And I can't let that stop me because I'm here to really make a difference. And I need your help, Moss Point, to help me get this stuff done. Have a good day.